In the darkness, a blood-red tentacle emerged from the monster's mouth as it tried to pin down the boy. The boy screamed helplessly as the tentacle stabbed itself into his eye. His hand trembled as the monster continued to feed on him. Getting his knife ready, the boy stabbed the monster's left arm. A scream of pain bursts out from the monster. Unable to control himself, the monster threw the boy away, slamming him into the wall. Weakly, the boy muttered that he didn't want to die. He could not die, at least not yet. He stood up with every last bit of his remaining strength. He cannot die without taking his revenge first. The scene then shifts to the past and shows the inverse world number 127, where a man shouts the name Tian Yang in ruins of broken-down buildings. The same boy who was getting beaten by the monster in the beginning appears. Their commander asks them to walk faster. All of the members of the squad gather, and the boy points out that their team has lost contact with the main team, worrying that dangers lie ahead. Without hesitation, their leader, Chin Woo, kicks the boy in the stomach and tells him not to slow him down, emphasizing that they are only there to find the star obelisk. The boy is pushed back by the kick, trying to catch his breath. A rock suddenly fell off the edge as the boy reached the end. He heard some weird noises coming from below the crack. Trying to stand up, he warned his fellow teammates that prowlers were approaching, reloading his gun as he prepares to fight against them. He warns his teammate to keep moving forward, as he will stay there to stall them. Just as he moved forward, a bullet tears through his leg and knocks him down. Standing in front of him was his own leader, who looked coldly at him and seemed to be the one who fired the bullet. Crawling toward him, Tian Yang demands the reason why he is abandoning him, and the leader replies that they would never have been in danger if the boy hadn't lured the prowlers there in the first place. With the same cold glare in his eyes, he says to him that he was nothing more than a lowly commoner, and he should feel proud to be thrown out as bait for a noble cause. A medikit drops in front of Yang. Finally, before taking his leave, he instructs him not to die too fast and buy them some time. Furiously, the boy screamed in the lonely ruins as his voice kept echoing. The boy runs and breaks apart a closed door as if he were running away from something. 3 prowlers were following the boy through the building ruins. Suddenly, another prowler jumped in front of him out of nowhere. He attacked with a knife, and the prowler bled green. He tries to run away before any other prowler can reach and attack him. Unfortunately, a prowler caught up to him, leading him near the edge of the building. He realized that he had nowhere to run and was about to crash into the glass. The glass shattered as they both crashed into it, and both of them fell down. Crashing against the walls of the building, the boy continues to fall down and lands into the nearly broken roof of a building, which further broke, causing him to crash into the ground below. Few prowlers noticed the disturbance and got lured towards him again. He realizes the scene has gotten troublesome and he has to figure something out faster. As he crawled back, he noticed that the prowlers were hesitating to approach him, and as he crawled further back, he touched something. He turns to his right and is surprised to see that it was star obelisk grass, and it was the reason prowlers were afraid to approach near him. He stands up and notices a large patch of star obelisk grass. The grass was glowing, making the whole place glow, making the place visually beautiful. He reached the patches of grass. In front of him was a large crystal structure, the one that the team was trying to find. It was the star obelisk, and he finally found it. As he kept looking at the beauty in front of him, something creepy appeared behind him. The creepy thing was the same monster that attacked him at the beginning of the scene. The monster puts its hand on his shoulder, and the boy creeps out. Suddenly, it approached the star obelisk and attacked it repeatedly. Turns out the monster managed to attack the boy, making him lose his left eye. The boy grabs his knife as he can't let that monster destroy the star obelisk. He runs towards him, cursing him. He gets wrapped by the monster's tentacle-like arms and slammed him onto the crystal obelisk. Unable to stand, he lies on the star obelisk grass. Now we have finally reached the point and know how the boy came to fight the tentacle monster. As the boy lies waiting for his demise, he states that he hates how he is going to meet his end. Just as the needle-like structure formed from the tentacles was about to poke his other functional eye, he shouts that he wants to take revenge. The roof above both of them cracks open. The crack above them started to open up and got even wider and broader. There was something shining too brightly above the crack that it lit up the whole area. Another worldly species with shining eyes, hiding himself in a cloak, appeared. A display came up stating consciousness data downloaded successfully and is about to start fusion with the host's consciousness. Tian Yang slowly rises to his feet while the pillar behind him shone brightly. The display showed how much his body is damaged, and the bar of recovery progress began to rise. It scanned the enemy and marked him as a level 3 threat and suggested elimination of the threat. His head started transforming, and the display further displayed that the host function is offline and activated the puppet system, which caused the spiritual fusion to begin. His hair started to turn white. His hair was hiding both his eyes, while a new power started emerging from him. The process was now 100% complete as his hair turned completely white and the blood around his eyes vanished into the thin air. He opened his eyes slowly and elegantly. The system declares the process was successful and it is time to begin the elimination of the threat. He clearly opens his eyes, glancing towards the monster that attacked him. The scene shifts to a museum where the tour guide is explaining about the world. It was a world that defied common sense, where both light and darkness existed together. It has immeasurable wealth and was filled with terrifying demons known as the Children of Darkness, and that they cannot be defeated as they are endless. It was all written in a book written by Sir Claw, who was the guide of the new era, and he even discovered the inverse world. Over the millennium, 127 claw gates have been discovered throughout the world. And although those are filled with danger, many explorers pass through them to explore the inverse world. A little kid got excited when he heard about the gates and said that he wanted to explore the inverse world when he grew up. His mother, unhappy with what he said, tried to stop him by telling him stories that normal people only went there if they had a death wish, as there are monsters beyond the gates. He questions her mom, then why had the monsters not invaded their world yet? And the tour guide calmly explains that there are strong masters who have blocked them from entering their world. Meanwhile, in the inverse world 127, Tian Yang stand with fury and red lightning surrounds him. The monster attacks him with all the tentacles it has. He reaches out his hands towards the monster, trying to stop him. He creates a protective shield barrier near him. The tentacles get shoved into the ground as he suddenly disappears from there. The monster's panicked, unable to find him in front of it. Suddenly, blood bursts out of its chest as a powerful strike by Yang from behind tears its chest apart. His hand further moved completely outside, passing through monster's chest. With all his tentacles shoved into the roof above, it tried to escape from his reach and it shapeshifted, turning its body into a ball-like structure. Charging itself up with a red aura glowing from it, it swung and catapulted itself toward Yang. With extreme speed, it tried to approach him, but as it reached him, he jumped away and it bounced around. It kept bouncing around like a ping-pong ball. But instead of its speed decreasing, it gained even more speed the more it crashed with objects. Finally, it was in a straight path with all the momentum it gained. Yang lifted his head up and kept glazing at the ball. He swung his left fist into the thin air. A sword-like structure started to form in his left hands. He instantly slashed the sword as soon as it formed, causing everything in front of him to break apart. The impact was so powerful it even cut the building they were in. The monster also got caught in it and tore apart from between, spilling blood everywhere. The sword starts to fade away, along with the consciousness that was inside him. The grotesque flesh of the monster didn't show any movement. It was as if it was completely dead. Finally, the sword completely shattered from his hands. His leg trembles and he starts to fall down. A gust of smoke came out of his right eye as it started to close. He falls down on his face on the ground. He sits up and gets confused. How is he even still alive? He tries to remember what happened down there and how he actually survived from a level 3 dark child. He raises up his hand and looks at a symbol has been imprinted there. A display appears in front of him showing him his current class rank and stats. He is even more surprised that he had now become an ascender of Avenger class. He even laughs more loudly because there was no ascender of that rank in that fortress and it was hard to believe he received an undiscovered class. He heard some noises behind him, so he suddenly tries to control his laugh by covering his mouth. He tried to silently move on from there without anyone noticing him. The scene shifts to a facility from which collection squads operated. The red alarm started to ring. The person in the radio tower was trying to find out the reason behind it. The alarm was due to few prowlers who sneaked their way into facility's ground. He noticed something even weirder when he looked closely at the screen. 4 prowlers were dragging a broken-down vehicle into the ground with ropes. They were trying to move forward because of the star obelisk grass attached to the front of the vehicle, and it is what they feared the most. Tian Yang calls into the radio tower and informed them that he has arrived from the 4th collection squad, and this time he had returned with live specimens and request access to the base. The person from radio tower approved the verification and asks him to wait a little. He waits for them to open the gate of the facility and gets out from his vehicle for a while. A few of his comrades saluted him on his return, and he saluted them back. They all get into their respective vehicles. The military vehicles started moving forward. The gate opens, shining brightly. Looking at the gate, Yang felt great as if this marked a new beginning in his life. After reaching the facility, he had to go through a health checkup. The results were completely normal, and there was no sign of contamination by the black mist, but his left eye was damaged more than 70%, and it is to be removed through surgery. He asked if there is any way to fix it. The doctor looked towards him and told that then the cost would be too expensive as he would need to use an electronic prosthetic eyeball. He thinks of what he accomplished in the previous mission and gained 4,000 contribution points, and it should be enough to exchange for a prosthetic eye. But then again, he reconsiders as 1,000 contribution points can let a family live without worrying about food and clothing for a year, but it is better to spend more rather than going blind. The door opened and Chief Counselor Ling entered the room. The doctor greets him warmly as she appeared to have crush on him. He asks if he can talk to Yang privately. She gave permission and left the room cheerfully. He glanced at Yang as soon as she left the room. He straightforwardly asked him if he was the newly ascended soldier, as he had requested an audience since no one seemed to recognize the crest on his hand. Yang instantly sits up and with excitement showed his crest. Ling raised his glasses up and asked him to circulate his astral essence. It is a kind of energy that flows inside the bodies of ascenders and is an important resource required to use their abilities. He raised his hand and tried to circulate it, but it didn't have much intensity as he was not proficient yet. Ling was happy to know that a new class awakener has appeared. Without wasting any time, he asked why Yang wanted to meet him, and he replied that he wanted to join the Nightwalkers immediately. Hearing his answer, he asked him again if it was the only reason he wanted to meet him. As anyone who ascends is welcome to become a Nightwalker, and tells him he will be receiving a notice within 48 hours. Yang impatiently asked that he wished to become a member right now to get all the rights including the status of an upper civilian. In a strict tone, he replies that there is no exception in the rules of Nightwalkers. In that case, any other group like the Stormtroopers, the Iron-Armed City Guards, or even the War Council might work for him, Yang replied. Ling even got more furious and asked him if he is trying to threaten him. But he was just stating the facts as a new rank brings immeasurable benefits to the Nightwalkers, and his request was not that difficult for someone with high authority like Ling. Considering his request, Ling finally agreed and promised him, but he had to hide his crest, as they could not announce it to the public yet. This made Yang feel relieved. As he was about to leave the room after changing his clothes, Ling asked him to understand his own value, saying that he could have asked for more and questioning why he had rushed his decision. Before finally leaving, he replied that he had some personal reasons. It was night when he reached Bullet Bar. He opened the door and had covered his left eye with an eye patch and his hands with gloves. He moved forward in the hustling busy bar. Few people were enjoying their time at the bar drinking beers, gossiping lies with their friends. And Captain Chin was one of them, completely drunk sharing fake stories of bravery to his comrades. Yang from behind passes a comment that he heard he shot one of his recruit in the leg so he could escape. Those words hit him so hard that he choked into the drink. He looked back in a shock, surprised how is he even alive? He asks him how is he not dead yet? Yang smiled and thanks him, as it was the captain's generosity that kept him alive. Out of shame, he asks Yang to keep his mouth shut and advises him to rest up for a few days. While sipping a glass of water, Yang coldly tells him that it was him who ignored the laws of battlefield. While grinning, Captain Chin compared Yang to rats living in the sewers, saying that lowlifes like him belonged in the lower city. He turned around and asked if Yang have ever seen law-protecting rats. While walking away, Yang called himself naive, as he had originally thought that Chin would finally admit his mistake and that it would be good for both of them. But people like him are beyond redemption. Chin pointed the gun toward Yang and asks if he had ever given him permission to leave. And how dare a peasant lowlife like him even try to oppose him? Moving his left leg forward, Chin demanded him to kneel, and he then ordered him to lick his shoes clean. This was the very moment Yang had been waiting for Chin to challenge him. The scene shifts forward to a later time. Ling waits alone in a room when someone suddenly enters the room. Smilingly, the visitor informs him that his new subordinate is causing some trouble. Remaining seated at his chair, Ling questions what kind of trouble is it. The other person shows him on the big screen revealed what he was talking about, and it was not really a trouble, but rather it was surprising. The screen in front of them showed Chin pointing his gun to Yang. Ling understood why his little friend was so eager to get the rights of an ascender. Turning his face towards Ling, the other person asked why. Folding his hands, he replied that there has been so much peace in Fort Prime that many people have long forgotten one of the 3 basic laws of the fortress. Returning to when the incident actually occurred, Yang warns Chin of his offense. He hesitated to shoot as he was really confused about why he warned him. It is actually forbidden to provoke and harm an ascended person regardless of their group or status. And when an ascender encounters a threat to life, he or she has the right to fight back just as Yang wanted. Suddenly, Qin's hand got cut that it took him some to realize it. His hand along with gun got cut off from his arm. He screamed, unable to handle the pain. While spinning the knife as a fidget spinner, Yang thanked him for cooperating with him. Running away from him, he asked for help as he didn't want to die yet. Just as he was going to ask for help again, his throat got slit. Leaving him lying on the ground, Yang exits without even looking back, just as he once left him behind in those abandoned ruins. Everyone's life is predestined and no one can defy it, he whispered as he went away. The visitor judges Yang to be narrow-minded based on his actions. As that captain could have been easily executed if would have used normal procedures, Ling's sighs at him and tells him he is wrong. Adjusting his glasses, he remarked that there was no majesty in an ascender if one went through normal procedures, and reminded him not to forget that many people were still fighting cases against the fortress for wasting vast resources on ascenders. He even appreciated that what Yang did was correct, believing that someone who needs a kick cannot be made to understand through words alone. However, the visitor feared that the boy's actions would set an example for people living with higher status. Traveling along the road, Yang was finally free to return home. The gates opened, and his car passed through them. A vast piece of infrastructure comes into view, with a road leading toward a massive gate that connected this area to every part of the city through the metro system. The stations were relatively quiet, with very little traffic at that moment. A metro train races across the overbridge at extreme speed. The infrastructure is shown once more, emphasizing its large central structure. The metro continues to accelerate. With a smooth visual transition, the speeding metro fades into the image of a wine glass falling down. It was already evening now. A waiter lady appeared in front of a drunk person about what happened. As she approached near him, he smacked the lady's ass, asking her to get drunk together. Feeling harassed, she asked the man to show some respect, but he only continued to blabber and suggested that they sleep together. Suddenly, a sharp object passed in front of him. It was a knife, and he barely survived becoming a eunuch. Turned out the lady was actually Yang's mother. Angry with his behavior, he asked him again what did he ask her mom to do. The drunk man stood up and argued about why a kid like him was trying to interfere in his business. He even warned him that he would call more people to take care of the woman's business. Yang picks up the knife from the table and smacks him face with his palm, and further slammed the man's head onto the table while bringing the knife towards him. He swung back his arms further back so he could attack him with more force. The man got his hand stabbed on the table. He screams that he will kill him. Another man wearing a yellow outfit came to protect the man from Yang. Without even caring at all, he asks him to just fuck off. The man tried to ask for forgiveness from Yang for the trouble the drunk man had caused them and thanked him for sparing them. A person with office outfit came and patted Yang proudly as he had become an ascender in such a short period of time. That person's name is Kai D. Her mom asks him what happened to his hair and his eyes. He asked her mom to slow down a little as he will explain everything to her patiently. He told his mom about what all happened in his last mission. Standing at the window, her mom asked him whether he had not only become an ascender, but he also joined the nocturnal group Nightwalkers. He happily told her that he had also applied for a house for them, and that once it was approved they would move out of this place. He added that he would even help Kai Di bid for a bar so that his mother could become a shareholder as well. His mother turned back and told him that he was being quite thoughtful. Of course he was, as it had always been his dream to live with his mother in the noble district. His mom stepped towards him. She objected to Yang joining the Nightwalkers, and he asked her why. He told her how beneficial it would for their livelihood as they would provide them better treatment. His mother grabbed his shoulders and stood by what she said, insisting that she was his mother and that he should listen to her, no matter what. He stood up and asked his mother why she was being like this. She had behaved the same way when he wanted to join the collection team, and he questioned whether it was wrong to try to give their family a better life. He further added that this was the very reason why his father left her in first place. His mother slapped him, bringing him back to his senses. A Nightwalker soldier named Yan Bing knocked at the door and asked Tian Yang was there as he specifically came to pass the headquarters mission directly to him. He gets up slowly from the ground. He told his mom he will be leaving first and they would continue this conversation later. He got outside of the door. He ordered Bing to move out, saying they would talk on the way. Bing saluted him in response. From the window, his mother watched as he departed in the tank. She holds on to something which appeared to be a photo frame of someone. Meanwhile, inside the tank, Bing informed him that the higher-up have decided to take the Pillar Star, and General Ling Fing had ordered him to join the Raven Tees as the guide. Yangs opens up a suitcase which was lying inside the tank. Inside was a brand new set of equipment and standard weapons. They explained that due to uncertainty surrounding the nature of Yang's abilities, the fortress had prepared these in advance while also allowing him to request a custom setup if needed. They arrived at their destination. This was the Area 7 deck, and Bing asked him to meet General Han Shu later. While adjusting the new set of equipment, he walked away from the tank, leaving Bing behind. Just as he moved forward, someone in front of him told him this was the gathering place of Raven Team. And why did he come here? He introduced himself and the reason why he came there. The person in front of him questioned if he is Tian Yang. The news of Yang taking his revenge against his original boss had already spread across the nation and was trending. He even blamed the fortress, saying, if they can allow people like Yang with no education, then that day isn't farther away when prostitutes would even obtain noble status. Yang got furious on what Kang Du said. He drew his sword and prepared to attack him for ridiculing him. Kang Du too drew his sword, further mocking him, as being in the same team with trash like him makes him feel disgusted. Yang responds with he can withstand himself being ridiculed, but he can't tolerate someone ridiculing his mother. He further mocked him by calling him a mama's boy. Suddenly, Yang rushed to him while spreading his palm in front of himself. He was trying to interpret what Yang was going to do. Another person steps in, interrupting their fight. He was so fast that even Yang didn't notice him coming. Kang was surprised to see the person who stepped in was their leader Han Shu. Han jabbed him softly in the face with his knuckles. The jab was so powerful it sent him flying back. Every mother is respectable, and this is not how he should treat his teammates, he scolded. Yang understood he was like a monster in terms of strength. He even scolds Yang, telling him those weapons are made up for eliminating enemies and not to be used against teammates. He asked him to meet him in person at the battle room. The sun was setting. Why are they in battle room? Yang asked. While further sweating, he asked if he is going to be punished, to which Han replied that he is not a pervert that likes to bully weak people. He didn't even know what Ling Feng was planning and why he requested him to train Yang. It would have been better if he was sent to a training camp, as he is so weak. At least it would save his time. Yang, with serious face, asked him to not look down on him. Laughing at Yang's guts, he asked him to take out his sword so that he could show him how weak he really is. He takes out his sword and asked Han if he is sure, as he didn't want to hurt him. Han slammed the shield on the ground, as his profession was a tank. With such high defense, even if he stood there, Yang won't be able to kill him. He understood the task. He ran towards Han and alerted him to be careful. Just as he was about to reach Han, his foot slipped off the ground, and he rolled across the floor before he could react. As he tried to stand up, Han appeared behind him with a blink of an eye and kicked him in the ass, quite literally. He sat on the boy's back, calling it checkmate. The sparring match was over in just a few seconds after it began. It was Han's trick that he specially showed him openings at his chest area, which forced him to attack there, but Yang's attack was totally predicted him, and that's how he countered all his attacks. He smiles and appreciates Yang for not being too stupid. He passes him a secret that in the inverse world, they won't be facing only one enemy, so if they want to live, they must save energy so that they can counter the enemy's attack, which is usually the best way to kill them. Han slapped him in his back, telling him that is enough rest for now and they should continue. Their training session went for quite a long time. It became dark with few stars glittering in the sky. Yang was all swollen up from all the beatings he got from the brutal training session. He asked Han to leave him alone, as he can manage to go back alone once he takes proper rest. But Han insisted on taking him to the medical team. In inverse world, any small wound can cause fatal damage, and Ling Feng had notified the medical team to help Yang do electronic eye setup and mocked him by asking if he wanted to enter with just one eye. They reached the medical team's clinic. Two female doctors were doing their work in the clinic. The female doctor with blonde hair named Roseanne was reading something from a tablet. Han came from behind and started flirting with her after smacking her ass. With an unfazed look on her face, she asked him why is he here? Not just to touch her ass, obviously. He showed her the bot and tells her that he needs a surgery, so find him a pretty girl who would help him do bandaging. She told Han that this is not a place where he would find that type of girl. She asked her fellow colleague Jun to bandage Yang up. She approached him and asks him to take off his shirt. He stood there in shock, unable to process what he had just heard. So he asked again what she had just said. While being focused on her work, she opened her medical case stating that he needs to take off his clothes as she was about to bandage his wounds. He quickly nodded and agreed to her while she stood there preparing the medical tools. She gently applied medicine to his injuries while Han and Roseanne were being all lovey-dovey, teasing him at the same time as he was panicking from just a small stimulus. He flustered and shouted to Han that he was not panicking at all. She warned her to not move even an inch. After treatment, she closed the medical case. Finally, she was done with the treatment and told him that it is done, and he thanked him. Just as she was about to leave, she saw him screaming. And the reason for screaming was Roseanne touching his chest, asking him if he is still a virgin. She asked him to close his eyes, as now it's sister's turn to treat him. She wore the surgical gloves as she was about to perform eye surgery on him. After some time, the surgery was over and she asked him to open his eyes, asking him how he feels now. It was quite strange for him as he was seeing thermal imagery of Roseanne. She explained that the eye has thermal imaging and long-distance vision functioning, and it is auto-changing, so he will be better in few minutes. He nodded his head off as it was too much for him to process. The clinic was actually situated in a train, and it suddenly jerked. They both struggled to keep their balance. His eyes widened as he noticed her slipping. He moves his hand forward, grabbing her shoulder, asking her to be careful. Due to which she landed on Yang's lap, totally blushing about what happened. While both of them were blushing, she thanked her and went out of that place completely shy. He heard over the radio Han asking him if he is all right. While Yang was enjoying Roseanne's services, Han and his squad entered the inverse world and the train was stopped by Prowler as they gathered near the train. He wore up his dress and left the clinic room. Before leaving, he sharply looked at Jun. He saluted and reported to his captain that he has arrived. All his teammates were looking at our hero who just arrived on the spot. Han started introducing each members of the team. Lao Su with a profession of level 3 war god. Ji Yu with a profession of level 2 archer. Kong Du, whose profession was a level 2 sword saint, was also present. Since they had met before, Han asked both of them to set aside their grudges until the current situation with the Prowler's End was resolved. He then introduced Yang to his subordinates, presenting him as a level 1 war god. Han also introduced Yang as the guide for the Star Pillar retrieval mission. In truth, Han was hiding Yang's real profession. He had lied. Yang was not actually a war god. He then opened the door and informed the objective of this emergency mission. There are small groups of prowlers in front, around 70 to 100, and only objective being slaughtering them all. Kang Du jumped off first from the train and slashed through 2 prowlers. Following him, squad mates came out of the train with full speed. It was actually pretty dark as it was midnight. The scene shifted to a chaotic site where a group of prowlers were surrounding and attacking someone from all sides. It soon became clear that the one under attack was Han, who stood calmly in the middle of it all, smoking a cigar without moving even an inch. He slowly dropped the cigar from his mouth, letting it fall to the ground beneath his feet. Without hesitation, he swung the massive shield in his hand and crushed a prowler with overwhelming force. A few gunshots followed, hitting the prowler's dying body, and it was clear the shots came from above. It was Yang who had fired the bullets. Han warned him that prowlers could even reach high places and told him it would be better to come down and train properly. Yang replied that the enemies had the advantage in numbers, and that, since this was his first time participating, he needed to be more careful. Han laughed and said he had thought the boy was just another ascender eager to show off, but Yang replied that he wasn't that childish, and Lao Su spoke up, praising the new member for being careful and cautious, quite different from what Kang Du had mentioned about him. Kang clicked his tongue in frustration, clearly annoyed by the remark. He then slashed a prowler standing right in front of him, cutting it down swiftly. Yang noticed his actions and kept his eyes on him. Kang turned back and openly called him a coward. Yang responded not with words, but by raising his gun and pointing it toward him. Kang immediately grabbed his blade and held it in front of him, shouting at Yang and demanding to know what he thought he was doing. A bullet suddenly passed by his cheek, missing him by a hair's breadth. That bullet struck a prowler that had been about to attack Kang from behind. Yang fired several more shots, completely destroying the prowler without giving it any chance to recover. He warned Kang to be careful next time, saying he wouldn't always be there to save him. Kang looked at him, anger clearly burning in his eyes. From the hill above, the scout girl reported that the group of prowlers had been eliminated and that it was time to return. While heading back to their vehicle, Kang stubbornly insisted that he hadn't needed Yang's help. With frustration visible on his face, Han ordered everyone to get on board as they were ready to move out. The archer suddenly warned them that something felt wrong in the 10 o'clock direction and that the situation was changing. Yang was shocked when he noticed a massive horde of prowlers marching toward them. It became clear that the squad could not defend themselves properly against such a large number of enemies. More prowlers from nearby areas began closing in, clearly seeking revenge. The man with long hair asked what they should do now. Captain Han contacted the train operator over the radio and asked how much longer it would take to start the engine. The reply came back that it would take at least 5 more minutes. Han immediately ordered his team to protect the train for the remaining time, no matter what. Suddenly, a large mecha suit flew down from above and landed behind the captain. Its lower mechanisms were covered in rotating chains that sparked constantly, providing the force needed for flight. The mecha suit stood completely still as a dark, heavy aura slowly gathered around it. A laugh echoed out as the pilot told them to leave the prowlers to him. The one controlling the mecha suit was none other than Chen Liu. The suit towered over them, standing nearly 3 times taller than a normal human. Lao Su quickly realized the suit used 5th-era shooting technology and questioned why the strategic department would allow something so advanced to be brought here. Chen Liu was actually a high-rank officer of strategic department, he replied. He never thought that an ascender would have so much knowledge about armed weaponry. As the horde of prowlers approached, Yang quickly alerted everyone. Chen asked Han if he would object to him taking the credit, to which Han replied that he would be more than happy to accept his help. With a serious look in his eyes, Chen raised his arms and locked onto the targets. He fired massive shots directly from his arms. The attacks shattered and completely destroyed many prowlers at once. He laughed loudly, clearly enjoying how satisfying it felt to wipe them out so easily. Han complained under his breath, calling Chen a bookworm who should have stayed in his office drinking tea instead of venting all his stress on the prowlers. Suddenly, several missiles launched from behind them, leaving the squad momentarily stunned. All the missiles streaked forward toward the advancing horde. A massive explosion erupted, completely annihilating the entire group of prowlers in front of the squad. Chen's mecha suit landed heavily behind them. He opened the visor, revealing his face. Lao was still surprised to see that such advanced machinery was already fully operational. Chen teased his teammates, asking if the machine's performance wasn't better than all of them combined. Han clapped with a sarcastic expression, calling the display impressive. Chen then asked Han to escort the team members and told everyone to take a short rest. Yang questioned Han if he have some grudge against Chen Liu, to which he complained that he doesn't like any member of strategic department as they always look down on them. Meanwhile, somewhere else, a metallic arm slammed a table. It was Nocturnal Group's commander Hu Yan asking if he understands the consequences. They were looking at the screen which was displaying the explosion caused by 5th-era mecha suit. And this place was the Instruct Department of Union Army Group. While holding a cup of tea, the leader of the strategic department, Wei Di, calmly asked him not to get angry, explaining that the mech suit's performance could help reduce their investment in ascenders and allow those resources to be used in a better place. Furious, Hu Yan shouted, asking how he could even think of cutting them off, and whether he had forgotten that it was the ascenders who opened the inverse world for the fortress. Wei replied calmly that he is well aware it is the ascenders who had done so, but the world was advancing. He went on to say that they should replace the low-ranked ascenders, adding that they were not as powerful as Hu Yan believed them to be. Hu Yan grabbed him by the collar, insisting that the prowlers were weak and that this kind of battle could not demonstrate the ascenders' true advantage. He then turned away, refusing to acknowledge Wei's proposal to reduce investment in the ascenders. With a serious look in his eyes, Wei told him that even if he objected, others such as the citizens and even the mayor would consider the proposal. All he needed was more proof through battle, and the citizens would naturally begin to vote in its favor. A train arrived at the Red Tower's outpost. Yang stood in front of a massive gate. Something unusual caught his attention. He spotted Shun standing before another gate. Remembering what had happened earlier, he decided to apologize. Just then, a tall man approached her. The man stepped in front of her, blocking her path. Seeing this, Yang hesitated, thinking it would be inappropriate to interfere and assuming the man was her partner. Suddenly, the look in Yang's eyes changed. He saw Shun slap the man. The man raised his hand in anger, snapping that she should feel honored to be with him and daring to reject him. His hand was grabbed by Yang in midair. She was surprised to see him there. He warned the man to stop. The man demanded to know who Yang was to stop him. Yang replied that he was someone who would stop him from using violence. The man pointed his finger angrily and asked how a commoner dared to provoke him. Yang grabbed Zun's hand and stated that an ascender had priority partner authority. She became flustered, and Yang further asked the man whether he still planned to disrespect his partner. The man pointed a gun at Yang. He instantly regretted it as a blade suddenly touched his neck. Yang coldly asked whether he was still sure about that. A call came through Chun's radio, urging her to return quickly. The man left, claiming he was running late and that otherwise he would not have let them off so easily. Yang kept staring at the man walking away, unconsciously tightening his grip on Chun's hand. She asked him whether he could finally let go of her hand. Yang became flustered, explaining that he had only grabbed her hand as an excuse to save her and that he had no other thoughts in mind. She laughed it off while blushing, saying that she knew. She moved past him, waving as she told him to leave before his team started worrying about him. Yang kept blushing, wondering whether he had fallen for her. She turned back and thanked him. The scene shifted to Team Raven's vehicle, the same words echoing in his mind as his thoughts went blank. Han punched him on the head to bring him back to his senses. He teased Yang for thinking about girls after noticing the obscene smile on his face, and Yang told him to stop spouting nonsense. Lao Su told them to stop messing around, warning that they had entered a deep part of the inverse world. They had arrived so quickly that it left Yang surprised. He kept looking at the broken-down buildings and compared them to their own civilization. Kong agreed, explaining that this place had once been a large city with millions of people. Yang then asked where those citizens were now. Han cleared his throat. Yang looked up, slightly awkward, unsure how to respond. With a serious expression, Han spoke the words, "Darkness Citizen." Yang was shocked by what Han said. Han pulled him closer and explained that the so-called Darkness Citizens had not come from nowhere. Yang wondered whether they had once been normal citizens who were changed, struggling to understand how such a thing could happen. Before the discussion could continue, a sudden report interrupted them, informing them that a rescue signal had been received. Han moved to the vehicle's control room and urged the operators to hurry up. Someone was sending an SOS, but the signal was extremely unclear. He picked up the radio and asked which team was sending the signal, but the transmission remained unclear. He ordered his squad to report the location to the lighthouse and continue with their mission, prompting Yang to ask whether they were not going to rescue them. He responded that they had far too little transformation time left and did not even know whether the signal was a trap. Chen Liu, who was outside the vehicle, said he never expected them to be so cold-blooded and declared that if no one else was going, then he would. He burst out in rage, cursing the people sitting safely in their offices, furious at how carelessly they were making decisions that affected lives. He ordered his squad to turn around and go save them, stating they could not allow a high-level fortress military officer to go alone. 3 military vehicles moved forward along a cracked and broken road. Han stepped down and placed his foot firmly on the ground. Looking at the massive structure, he remarked that the residents of the inverse world must have once lived a blessed life, though he had no idea what the structure was meant for. A projected display suddenly appeared from Yang's gauntlet. Yang asked Han whether they were not going together with them. Han replied that he had assigned the Highland Eagle team to act as their bodyguards, while they stayed behind just in case. While looking at the projection, he added that the team had already started moving. A bald man was forcing open a massive door using only his hands. He managed to pry it open, revealing scattered chairs lying across the floor inside. Someone from beyond the wall was calling out for help. As they moved closer, they realized the sound was not coming from beyond the wall, but from a person sitting near it. An officer approached and told the man they were there to rescue him. He then asked whether the man was alone. The man stood up with his back still facing the officer, continuing to ask for help. When he fully stood, his height increased until his head crashed into the roof, his limbs unnaturally thin, revealing that it was not human but a monster. A microphone was trapped inside the monster's mouth. Another grotesque face opened on its chest, hidden beneath its shirt, asking grimly if they could still hear him. Several officers opened fire while another officer screamed in shock. The monster was struck by multiple bullets and screamed in pain. They believed it had been killed, but the relief lasted only a few moments. Suddenly, another horde of prowlers ambushed them, leaving no choice but to retreat. Han's earlier deduction proved correct. The mission had been a trap. He immediately ordered his Raven team to set off. Han shoved Yang aside when he tried to board the vehicle, telling him to stay behind and follow Li Da's instructions. Yang demanded to know why. The leader stepped forward, shouting for everyone to protect the medical team and retreat to the plaza. The squad regrouped in an area that resembled a volleyball stadium. The people there appeared to be minding their own business, unaware of the danger approaching. He warned Yang to be careful, noting that the prowlers' traps were far from simple. The man who had earlier harassed Zun questioned why the leader was bothering with a rank 1 beginner, claiming he would be useless, prompting Yang to give him a sharp side-eye and ask why he himself was there. Just as the leader told Zhou Wang they could settle their arguments after the mission, a bright red flare lit up the sky behind him. He turned back and saw numerous prowlers being lured toward that location. These prowlers looked different, no longer human-like but resembling twisted hybrids of bats and dogs. One prowler leapt directly toward Yang. It was sliced cleanly across the head by a blade. Yang barely managed to save himself. The leader ordered them to focus on eliminating the enemy's leader. Yang followed his gaze and noticed their leader. A towering monster with glowing red eyes stood upright on two legs. The leader asked whether Zhou Wang's elemental weapon could take it down, and Zhou Wang judged the distance, saying it was still too far. He explained that despite being a long-range shooter, he would need to move closer, adding that he would proceed if Yang escorted him. The monsters stared at them in a creepy, unsettling manner. Yang tried to stay hidden as he moved closer to the enemy's boss, warning everyone to remain cautious. Zhou, completely unconcerned, rested both arms behind his head and told Yang that he could already smell them from 800 meters away and did not need to be warned. Even so, Yang warned him again to be careful, stating that those mad hounds could easily kill them if they made even a small move. Zhou Wang smiled and told him that he did not need advice from a beginner, warning Yang to watch out for himself instead. Yang thought about what he should do as their numbers were too large and killing them would only draw even more hounds to the area. Someone's smiling silhouette suddenly appeared behind him. It was Zhou Wang, who kicked Yang forward and told him to hurry up and kill them. The hounds immediately noticed Yang. He was instantly surrounded by a group of the hounds. Yang turned back to look at Zhou Wang. Zhou Wang was already walking away, waving his hand and calling Yang careless while saying he was going to call for reinforcements. A hound tried to grab Yang, and in anger he shouted, asking if they really thought these dogs could kill him. Just as the hound's claw was about to land on him, he vanished into thin air. The hounds looked around in confusion, searching for him. Yang reappeared on the rooftop of a nearby building and sprayed perfume, muttering that it was lucky he was a revenger, as a war god would have died instantly. The perfume was made from darkness citizen body extract, which could hide him from the mad hound's sense of smell, though the stench was unbearable. Standing on the roof, he looked down at them, thinking that it did not matter if Zhou Wang had left, as this was his chance to test his new ability. A large hound stepped on something and crushed it under its weight. The creature beneath it was unmistakably the enemy's leader, with a feminine body, a swollen belly, and eyes burning with deep hatred. Those were the same eyes Yang had seen back then. His prosthetic eye automatically switched into thermal mode. Something strange appeared in the readings, as only the enemy's torso region emitted heat. The mother hound became enraged. Yang realized that what he was seeing might be the enemy's weakness, an ability he had gained after becoming a revenger. A loud noise erupted from the area. The hound bared its fangs in an attempt to intimidate him, ordering its minions to attack and lure them into that spot. Energy surged around Yang as he prepared himself for battle. Locking onto the monster's weakness, he leapt forward, ready to drive his sword into it. As his blade pierced the monster, it let out a piercing scream. He tore its belly wide open, and black fluid, likely the creature's blood, oozed out. Yang was surprised by the sight of the black fluid. He glanced at his profession display, checking his simulation progress and the level his profession was approaching. The monsters that had been lured to the area spotted Yang. They immediately changed direction and rushed toward him. All of them leapt at him at once. A shot pierced through one of the approaching hounds from the back of its head. Instantly, the remaining hounds were taken down in the same manner. Yang turned around to see who had fired the attacks. They were not bullets but glowing spears thrown by Zhou Wang, who shouted for Yang to hurry and get onto the approaching vehicle. The vehicle was already moving toward Yang. Zhou Wang continued hurling spears at the remaining hounds, providing cover for him. Yang jumped forward. One of the spears exploded close to his legs. The spear slammed into a pile of boulders. The resulting explosion threw Yang off balance. He landed directly in front of the vehicle's wheels. Zhou Wang smiled at him with a grin and apologized, the expression making it clear that the incident had been no accident at all. Zhou Wang put an arm around Yang's shoulders, telling him to forget what had happened earlier and not to be so petty since he had already apologized. Yang shook his hand off and replied angrily, saying there was no way for him to know whether it had been intentional or not. Hans suddenly rushed over, appearing out of nowhere. Yang lifted his hands in an awkward greeting, trying to calm the tense atmosphere. Before he could react further, Hans struck him. The blow made Yang jumbled as Hans scolded him for disobeying orders and leaving when he was told to stay behind. Yang protested, saying he was not a child anymore and that he only wanted to complete the mission. He even shouted that he had killed the Madhound leader. Trying to earn Han's approval, Zhou Wang said that the leader had personally sent him and that he had protected Yang when his life was in danger. Han turned to Zhou with a dark, unhappy expression, asking to know who he was. Without waiting for an answer, Han grabbed Yang and lifted him like a sack of potatoes, angrily lecturing him that rushing in whenever someone asked for help was not bravery and that he needed to learn when to say no. He then carried him toward the medical team to get him checked. Yang tried to protest, saying that he did not even have any injuries. With a terrifying look in his eyes, radiating a monster-like presence and glowing red pupils, Han simply replied with a cold acknowledgement. Yang quickly ran out of his grasp, and Han let out a sigh. He then turned back and checked on Zhou once again. Han warned him to be careful next time and behave properly, stating that if such an incident happened again, he would conduct a full investigation and would not be blamed for it. Zhou, looking frightened, awkwardly agreed. Yang returned to the medical team for a checkup. Sitting on the bed, he let out a sigh and casually flexed his muscles. Jun told him that he did not appear to be injured. Yang became flustered and tried to cover himself, asking why she was the one doing the checkup. She held his arm and asked whether he was looking down on her skills. He immediately replied that he was not. She began examining him and asked him to lie down, explaining that she needed to conduct a full checkup. Yang asked her why she had joined the inverse world medical system and whether it would not have been better to stay in the fortress. She fell silent while staring at the health monitor, whether because of what she saw or because of his question was unclear. Yang felt regret, realizing he should not have asked such a question. Ignoring his words, she told him that he was fine. As she left, she also told him to rest well. Yang picked up his clothes and began getting dressed. Just as he stepped out of the clinic room, he wondered what had upset Jun. From behind, he heard Jun explain that her father was sick and that his illness was difficult to treat. Yang turned back toward the clinic. She stood there with her head lowered, explaining that the inverse world medical team paid well and that she needed the money to save her father's life. Even though there were easier paths, she did not want her freedom taken away. She also said that she did not want to accept her fate, as freedom within the fortress came at a heavy price. She then turned away, saying she needed to return to her duties. Yang agreed quietly, thinking about what she had gone through. While she could have chosen an easier path by becoming a noble's or ascender's partner, she instead chose the harder road, risking her life like other inverse world residents. Two vehicles entered a canal. Due to Chen Liu's judgment, they had lost 3 soldiers and many resources, and they were fortunate not to have encountered high-level darkness citizens, or the mission would have failed. Looking out the window, Han asked Yang to confirm whether this was the location and questioned why it was so quiet, wondering where the prowlers were. Yang confirmed that this was the place, but admitted that he did not know why there was no sign of activity. While smoking a cigar, Han told them to ignore it, explaining that prowlers were not stationary and must have moved elsewhere. A radio signal came in from Chen Liu, demanding to know who had permitted them to come there. Han became angry the moment he heard his voice. Han kicked open the vehicle door. Chen Liu was standing in front of the star obelisk, questioning whether they even had the right to touch the star pillar. He ordered them to leave the area immediately. His words were directed toward the other team. Han stepped forward and stated that anyone who participated in retrieving the star obelisk had the right to touch it, as it had always been tradition. Chen replied that such traditions were complete nonsense and accused them of breaking the rules. Han proposed holding a vote, though he noted it would be pointless since the majority would agree with him. Yang smiled, thinking that it was finally Jun's turn and hoping that she would be lucky. Jun walked toward the star obelisk, gazing up at its towering height. Suddenly, Zhou Wang approached and wrapped an arm around Yang, clearly pleased to see him there. Zhou Wang bragged that he had been with many women before, but claimed none were as pretty as Jun, asking Yang to give her to him. Yang recalled the words about freedom that Jun had shared with him earlier. Coldly, Yang replied that if he remembered correctly, he had already warned Zhou Wang that she belonged to him, and if he dared to touch her, he would need his sword's permission first. Zhou Wang grew angry at Yang's cold response. He grabbed Yang by the neck and told him to know his place, mocking him as a beginner with no power or influence, and questioned whether he truly believed he could compare himself to the Zhou Shi family. He added that Jun was just a commoner and that being with him should have been an honor to her. The crest in Yang's hand lit up as astral essence began circulating through his body while his anger intensified. He suddenly stopped as something bright shone behind him. He turned around, and the sight before him was visually stunning. It was June touching the crystal obelisk. The equipment she had worn broke apart. She ascended, and behind her a crest mark appeared. Han shouted that this was the first time he had seen the support profession, because it is one of the rarest. Zhou Wang got even more angrier seeing that. As she was no longer a commoner but a rare profession ascender, he was not even fit for her, told Yang. Zhou Wang thought if it wasn't for Yang, he would have slept with her. It is now all his fault, so he will make him pay. Han ordered them to retrieve the star obelisk as all have touched it by now. Everyone was returning home while Shun stood there still confused. She thought if it was a dream and she is still dreaming. Yang came near him and congratulated her. She grabbed his hands with excitement, questioning, did she really become an ascender? And now, as she became an ascender, won't she have enough money to treat his father's illness? He replied with a yes. She hugged him out of both happiness and excitement, and Yang's face turned red like a tomato. From afar, Han asked Roseanne how they got together so fast, to which she replied to stop dreaming as June is her main disciple, and why does he think she will like someone like him? Well, as a proud teacher, Han replied, Yang is counted as his half-disciple, then how is he unfit for her disciple? The cave started to shake. A few small pieces of debris started falling from the roof, after which the roof started falling apart. Han called both of them to board the vehicle faster as the cave was collapsing. Yang grabbed her by his hand and rushed towards the vehicle. The opening of cave was already filled with debris. They broke through the pile of debris with extreme speed. Yang turned back and saw a strange creature outside. A huge monster with many hands, with a mouth large enough to swallow a whole building, was following them. They stopped and stood before the monster. That monster threw a whole block of building towards Han, yet he stood confidently. The building block landed behind him where Kang Du was standing, and he evaded it. Lao Su identified it as a rank 5 ghost car, and it seemed like the day the whole team might die. Han brings out his shield. The last time a ghost car was encountered was reported 8 years back, and now they didn't have any information about it. All Darkness citizens' weakness is the will prison, and there should be no exception for this ghost car. If Yang tries and manage to find its weakness using his eyes, he can do something. Just as he was thinking about his weakness, Han asked him to dodge. He grabbed him by his hand, pulling him closer to him, as he wouldn't have been able to dodge its attack. That monster dropped another vehicle. The vehicle fell wham on the ground. Luckily, Yang was out of its way, though. The monster furiously screamed at both of them. Han ordered everyone to keep firing the gunshots, as there was no need to save ammo. The ghost car tries to suppress the damage by protecting itself with its hands. 2 5th-era mecha suits were continuously firing at it. Another mecha suit with multiple firing weaponry shot out homing missiles towards the ghost car. The missiles collectively went towards it and caused an explosion on ghost car. Han was still angry over the use of mech suits, while Yang was just standing there looking at the explosion. The smoke caused by started to clear after a few seconds. But when the smoke disappeared, they saw there was not even a scratch on the ghost car as it got protected by a defense mechanism. Chen Liu was all surprised that none of their attacks worked and were wasted. He tries to run away, calling that monster invincible, and because he didn't want to die there. Han warns him to stop and asks everyone to crawl down. The ghost car whipped out everything in front of its path with its tail. It split apart the mecha suit into upper and lower halves, and most likely, he could not have survived that attack. Everyone except Chen Liu survived as they crawled down. Han felt so unlucky about what was happening today. Yang tries to focus on finding its weakness. Surprisingly, he couldn't find any weak point in it. Han brought out an astral spear, well, calling it a lunar spear because it is shining like it has a bit of the universe inside it. He moved forward with spear and shield and commanded his team to follow him along. All members shouted Roger. With all his force, he hurled the spear, tearing one of its limbs apart. Together, Kang Du and Lao Shu took down another of its limbs. Yang tried to attack it, but he failed miserably as he was unable to cut through even the first layer of its skin. Ghost Car's another arm attacked him from behind. Lucky for him, Kang Du saved him by asking him why he was acting tough when even a level 3 professional can't cut it. His sword was stuck in the monster's hand. Han arrived and tore off the monster's arm, teasing Kang by asking if he was there to save Yang and why he was talking so much. Kang replied with a strange expression that he wasn't saving anybody. Suddenly, many more missiles attacked the ghost car. Han asked his team to retreat. The ghost car exploded. From inside it, a scorpion-like monster appeared, and something came out of its mouth. The reason why the team couldn't find any prowler. as all of them were eaten by this monster. Yang finally found what he was looking for. He could see the monster's weakness near its chest area. The scene shifts to the other side of the attack, and Captain Lee Da stood there watching everything in front of her burn. She tried to stop one of the mecha suits from shooting the bazooka as others were still in front. The man in the mecha suit told him that he no longer wanted to stay here and wanted to go home and shoot the missile. It was too late for Lee Da to be able to do anything. Han, on the other side, got angry about who was doing these explosions. Yang wondered where the monster went. Unknown to him, it was already above them on top of a building. The monster screamed at the man who fired and rushed below with its mouth wide open to attack him. It tried to bite the mecha suit the moment he was in its reach. The monster successfully bites and swallows him. It then attacked the vehicles nearby. Lida activates her astral essence and uses absolute zero. This power caused everything in front of her up to a certain distance to freeze. This attack froze the monster in its place. Han and Yang rushed to where Li Da was. Yang suspected something. He warned everyone that the monster is not fully trapped. Han realized they can't defeat that monster, and due to its speed, they cannot escape either. While Yang does have a final ace up his sleeve, a final chance that could work. He told Han about its consciousness prison being located at 1/3 of the chest area, to which Han questioned him if he was sure. Han asked Li Da to freeze it again as soon as it breaks out, suggesting he would enter from its mouth and defeat him from within. He got warned by Yang that the monster's inner temperature is too hot that even his eye detector couldn't capture its range. It would be too much for him to handle. With confidence, he said that he is a fortress and he can handle it for half an hour so that it won't be a problem. Li Da tried to stop him. It would be great if he could even handle a few seconds. However, due to his snail-like speed, he would become ashes. With a look of bravery, he said he never thought of coming back alive, as if he could kill this monster, his life would be worth it. Yang volunteered to go instead, saying his speed is fast enough, but Han does not permit him. The ice on the monster started to melt. He again asked for permission, as there was no time to explain and to at least trust him. Han still can't let a beginner just go and die. Li Da asked them to stop arguing, as next time he could at most freeze the monster for 5 seconds. General Ling Feng on the radio asked Han to let him go, although he tried to argue, but this was an order this time. Unable to say no, Han finally agrees to let him go. Han patted Yang's head and said that he did not know what power or secret he possessed, nor did he wish to learn, but he had to come back alive. The monster broke out of its frozen state. Instantly, Li Da froze the monster with absolute zero and asked Yang to hurry up, as he doesn't have much time. Han looked around but was not able to find him. Yang had already arrived near its mouth, with complete determination in his face. He sped up and went directly inside its mouth. He started burning a little due to the high internal temperature of the monster. He found its weak area from the inside. He unsheathed his sword in midair and slashed right through its weakness. One slash was all it took. The monster's internal organs had an explosion. It screamed in pain as it started burning from the inside. Yang was already unconscious while he tried to get out. His body was heavily damaged. He fell on the ground, and the monster split apart into 2 parts. Claws of the monster remained on the ground along with Han, but the fire on him was extinguished. Yang tried to open his eyes. He saw a faint image of someone looking at her. It was June. She was completely worried about Tian Yang as she kept calling her name, trying to wake him up. All other team members gathered to save Yang. 2 days later, Yang finally opened his eyes. Roseanne removed his oxygen mask. The first question he asked after waking up was how long he had been sleeping. She told her that if it wasn't for June, he would have returned to the fortress in the same condition. She was resting as she had just become an ascender, yet she used at least loving light 3 times. She became flustered when he heard the word loving and raised her head up. She saw that Yang had finally awoke. He smiled, looking at her reaction. Since Yang has finally woke up, she decided to go and do other things. But Roseanne asked her to take him for a walk, as it is good for his recovery. June grabbed him by his hand and tried to make him stand. Looking at them both, Roseanne couldn't control her laugh as smiled the same way Yang was smiling then. After standing up, he keeps staring at her, slightly annoyed. June said to him that her teacher isn't a bad person, she just wanted to tease him. He asked, in confusion, how she was her teacher, to which June replied that she had accepted her as a disciple, and also mentioned that after the mission ends, she can request her father to receive treatment in hospital. They went outside for a walk together. Zhou Wang was there on the roof above, staring at both of them. 3 days later, after Yang woke up, Roseanne complained to Han that since he was the one who invited everyone for the recovery party, he should help them. She questioned why they were the ones doing all the preparations. Han grabbed Roseanne and pulled her towards him, telling her they would start to eat once Yang arrived. June got embarrassed seeing both of them like that, so she went out to find Yang. Han asked her to take their time and not rush. When she was trying to find him, Zhou Wang called her from behind. She looked back to see who called her. She tried to send him away as she didn't want to talk with him. He pinned her hands against the wall against her will and said that this time he had come to seriously propose to her, claiming they were perfect for each other and that nothing could be better than a new ascender paired with a noble. He kept laughing in a creepy manner. She cried and told her that even if she were to die, she wouldn't marry him. He became unhappier with this rejection. He further tried to harass her. He put her on the ground, telling her not to forget that she is still just a commoner, and even if he did anything to her, no one would even care. He further harassed her by asking whether she would marry him or not after what he was about to do. His hand was suddenly removed from her face as if someone pushed him away. She was still not over what was happening with her. She saw that it was Yang who saved her from Zhou Wang's grasp. He crashed very far away. He sits back with disgust on his face to see Yang, as he didn't expect him to appear. He told him that he could not attack him because he was a noble, but it did not matter at all as he simply stood there staring at him coldly. Yang kicked Zhou Wang in his face. This further sent him flying very far. Also, he lost his front tooth from this kick. The look in Yang's eye made it clear that he was trying to kill him. The scene shifts to a moving train. The scene zooms into an interrogation room, and the yelling of Zhou Wang could be heard. He was tied to a chair while he kept blabbering about being a noble. Han appeared as the door opened. He told him to stop screaming and raging at him for violating Soon. She kept blabbering the same words about being a noble. Roseanne stepped forward, declaring that as her disciple, no one in the fortress had the right to touch her, and that this rule applied even to the head of the Zhou Shi family. He arrogantly said that once he became a high-level ascender, he would come back for her, and she would not be able to do anything since she only knew medicine. He told them not to imprison him as that is the same as making the entire Zhou Shi family their enemy. Han told him that Zhou Shi already knew what his son did. He conveyed his message that Raven Team could do whatever they wanted to him, and that he would personally visit and apologize to Shun. Zhou Wang couldn't believe that his family abandoned him, and that too because of a mere ascender. Han also adds that Zhou Wang has been kicked out of the Nocturnal Team, and Steel Barrier will handle him from now on. He blamed Yang for what happened to him, as he was just one step away from becoming the Zhou Shi family's core member. He made up his mind to take revenge against Yang. Scene shifts to Yang yawning, saying the mission is finally over. Kang Du threw a portable outfit at him and asked him to quickly change into it. He told him that a funeral was about to begin, to which Yang asked whose funeral it was. With a gloomy face, Kang replied, "Brothers." Everyone gathered at the funeral, dressed in all black, and Captain Li Da gave a speech. Captain Han further continued the speech. It was not really a speech, but it was more like their oath. Family members of the people who died were also present there. Yang stood there, still shocked by how many people died in this mission. He saw the mother of a child crying in front of him. This reminded him of a person. He saw that the image that the mother was holding closely resembled someone she knew. Something happened in the past as Han was eating compressed biscuits. He met a hunter named Sui Xing back then. She offered him some bread, calling him her little brother and saying that compressed biscuits tasted bad. Yang was already in tears when Han came near him and asked why he hadn't left yet. He wiped off his tears and said it was nothing. He asked Han why he hadn't left either, to which Han replied he wanted to see them for a bit longer. Han even thanked him, saying that if it were not for him, many more people would have been lying there. He added that while they were called heroes, no parent would ever wish to see their child become one. Yang now understood why his mother had such a reaction when he said to her about joining Nocturnal Group. Han asked him to go as he needed some rest. Someone from within the crowd was calling Yang's name. It was his uncle Kai Di. He asked Yang not to care about him and quickly go to the black mine, telling his mother had been captured. The moment he heard those words, his composure broke completely. The black mine was originally a steel mine that recruited most of its workers from the common area, but a few years later, it became a place where prisoners were forced to perform labor. There had been many cases where prisoners either worked themselves to death or were beaten to death. Without wasting any more time, he rode straight toward the black mine. He sped up, knowing that many days had already passed since his mother was imprisoned. He kicked open the jeep's door the moment he arrived, and rushed straight toward the black mine's gate. A green light suddenly shone brightly over him. From beyond the gate, a security guard asked why he was there so late at night. He told the guard that he was from the nocturnal group and demanded to see the person in charge. The drunk guard didn't take him seriously, as he looked like nothing more than a kid. He even pointed his gun at him, ordering him to turn back. He calmly pulled out his own weapon and fired, releasing a sharp laser beam. The beam melted through the metal bars of the gate completely. He grabbed the guard by the collar, warned him that he could verify his identity if needed, and demanded for the final time that the person in charge be brought to him. The guard could clearly see the nocturnal group badge, so he agreed. The in-charge was sipping on his tea in his office. Yang dragged the guard along with him and opened the office door, due to which the teacup slipped out of his hand. He asked both of them what were they doing in his office this late at night. Yang slammed on his desk asking where his mother is being kept. He asked for some time, saying that many criminals were imprisoned every day, so he needed to check the records, and he also asked him to provide an internal affairs certificate. Yang immediately fired his gun, which went just past his ears. He pointed the gun at his head and asked if he was still going to check it or not. He started checking up on his tablet regarding the name Nan Fei. He found her details and said that she was brought there 4 days ago and is now working in Area 3. Yang grabbed his hand and asked to take him to his mother. The scene shifts to Area 3. Yang's mother was getting beaten by a man. She was completely covered in dust as she lay on the ground helplessly. The man grabbed her by the hair and misbehaved. He slammed her against the wall. She collapsed against the wall, her head bleeding. That man further tries to beat her up. Suddenly, a laser beam cut through his hand. He started screaming in pain. Yang rushed forward to her mother, seeing her lying against the wall. He tried to wake his mother up, but she was not speaking at all. She opened up her eyes. The scene shifts to a place full of flowers. A young woman was running in the garden as petals flew beautifully around her. The young woman asked someone in front of her to wait for him, and tried to hug him from behind. They both fell on the patches of grass, laughing about it. The man told him today she looked as pretty as those flowers. With a smug face, she asked, "Only today?" She lay happily on that man's lap as they kept flirting with each other. The man's name was Lai, Yang's father. She asked if he could let her sleep for a while. It was actually all happening in Yang's mom's dream. She looked at his face, afraid that what she was seeing wasn't real. Slowly, she reached out, wanting to know if he was really there. He held her hand and told her he was real, that she wasn't imagining him. Tears filled his eyes as she looked at him and asked who had hurt him. While crying, he told his mother that he wasn't crying at all. She told him not to worry, saying his mother would protect him. Her voice slowly faded as she spoke. The hand holding him tightly suddenly fell. His mother was no longer breathing as she lay in her son's lap.